Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today I am doing a video with my friend Richard Halsell from Canada. He has been playing the Pokemon TCG for how long, Richard?
I played way back in the original days, till probably like Neo Team Rocket. Then I got out and I didn't play till Guardians Rising came out recently, about a year ago. And yep, it's my first competitive season, and I currently have 406 CP.
Nice, so you're sitting right over the invite. And today we are going to be talking about this rogue idea of a deck, Zoroark Trevenant, with some cute text in it. It looks like a really fun deck to play. I'm actually going to try to trade for the missing cards I have on here and play with it on stream sometime next week. But yeah, so let's get into the list, and then we'll talk about why Richard built the deck and started working on it, how he's done so far in testing, and what he thinks the matchup spread is like. So we start out with a 4-4 Zoroark line here. Nothing too special about that, right, Richard?
Pretty simple. It's your card drawing engine, and yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
So, Riot Speeding, would you say that's one of the main attacks, or is it not really a main attack?
In certain matchups it will be, like when your other Zoroark matchups, it's kind of where the match you want to be. And when you're facing Malamar, it's your Dawnwing's target. And early game, you can take out maybe like Inkay or Malamar with it. You're off to a good start.
Got it. And we're not playing any Dark Energy, so this is the best Zorua to play. And then we're playing 3 of the Phantump with Ascension, 2 of the Trevenant Breakpoint Psychic. Is this Breakpoint or Breakthrough? It's one of the breaks.
Breakpoint.
Okay.
It's the Breakpoint one.
And then a Guardians Rising Trevenant and 2 Trevenant breaks. So we'll start with the Phantump real quick. It has Ascension, so it's probably the best one.
Yeah, pretty much. There's this one, and the big thing about it as well, besides Ascension, is it's got that fighting resistance, and we all know how big Buzzwole is right now.
Yep.
Also, there's other one's a grass one, but it's just kind of nothing special to it.
Okay, got it. And then we'll go to the 2 Trevenant with Nervous Seed. So tell us about this card. It's kind of the special part of the deck, right?
It's been a very unknown card in Standard from what I've seen, and then yeah, I was just kind of Googling. I'm like, there's got to be a Trevenant card that's somewhat decent in this format, and came across it, read its ability, and with how dominant, you know, Malamar, which is an all basic attacker deck, along with most Buzzwole variants, again, the fighting resistance, the actual perk of the attack of Energy Press, and its ability having to make your opponent pay extra, especially if they're struggling for energy to get attack or pressure on. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah,
so Nervous Seed, where do you see this messing up your opponents the most?
In the early game against Malamar, actually, if they have only exactly 3 energy in the discard, they gotta kind of guide their attacks more. They gotta give you that extra turn. And then against Buzzwole, for things like Jet Punch, they can't Jet Punch you on turn 1 turn 2. They only got 1 energy on their active as they're trying to load up their bench. And yeah, it kind of makes certain decks have to think a lot more as they go forward. So
against Buzzwole, are they reaching to attach that extra energy, or are they Guzmaing around the Trevenant?
Kind of comes down to what's on my bench, to be honest with you. There's been times where, like, if I got a Zorua, yeah, they'll play around that. A couple of times, if I get a Jolteon start, I'll just retreat it after a Brigette, and I'll just put the Phantump active and kind of Ascension there, and they go right off to begin with.
Cool. So Nervous Seed is definitely a really awesome ability, and it's paired with Energy Press, which can also take knockouts on things like Baby Buzz, Buzzwole GX, and regular Necrozma GX fairly easy.
No, absolutely. With the psychic weakness, and that's another thing that makes the Energy Seed so attractive, is you actually Oko the Baby Buzz for just the simple.
Yeah, they don't need anything on it, right?
Choice Band on. And yeah, also the 110 HP. So.
I think we lost Richard there for a second. You good? You lagged on us there. Okay.
You broke up for a second there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't hear your question there. Sorry.
I think we were just going back and forth on the energy press a bit. So it knocks out Buzzwole, Baby Buzz without them having any energy. It knocks out Big Buzz if you have a Choice Band or they have 3 energy, right?
Exactly.
And then I was just thinking real quick the math for playing against Buzzguard with Fighting Fury Belt. So if they have at least 2 energy on them, and you have a Choice Band,
it's a knockout. And also, as like a kind of like a one-off attacker, it's also very good against Lucario, which is a match I actually faced as well, where you just put the band on with the 1 energy, it hits exactly 220.
Nice, nice. And not to mention, it'll also be taking out things like the Mewtwo EVO, that's a popular tech, and the new Mewtwo promo that people are playing in Psychic Malamar.
Yep, and another big thing too is its weakness.
Oh,
it's terrible against Zoroark because it's the dark weakness, but against other Psychic decks, they can't knock it out in return.
Right, yeah, that is very good, and the resistance is always nice. So they can't return with a Sledgehammer vanilla. They need a buff as well.
They need some juice, absolutely.
So you are also playing one of the Guardians Rising Trevenant, which I've always thought is a really cool card. Back in the 2010 format, I believe, we had the Stormfront Gengar, which had Poltergeist, and Poltergeist has just historically been stronger than this card has been. I think we just have more ways to get cards out of our hands, and we're more aware of things like Poltergeist doing damage. So tell me a bit about Trevenant. The grass Trevenant.
Yeah, it's a great attack. It's your Lycanroc counter, and it's also one of your key go-tos in the Greninja matchup. So those are the 2 main reasons. Also, as well, if you break evolve it, it becomes a Psychic with Fire weakness, which kind of wipes out the Zoroark.
Oh, nice.
And in the Zoroark matchup, Poltergeisting's kind of big, though resistance kicks in. Or just because of the removal of resistance, you kind of maybe you can afford the turn or 2 of getting off Silent Fear with it.
Okay,
when it's
cool.
break evolved.
So have you ever benched this? Have you ever like evolved a bench Phantump to this just to see if your opponent will waste some resources or play a little differently, or has that not come up?
I put it down as a threat a couple of times, and especially in the Lycanroc matchups. In my one Buzzrock, I kind of basically threw it out there as a suicide attacker. I hit the Lycanroc for about, I think it was a 180 with a bang because he had 2 items in hand.
Okay.
And then next turn I was able to Guzma around it, and I was just able to get off a Silent Fear spread and knock out the Lycanroc, which kind of took out any non-basic threat he had against me.
Nice. Okay, cool. And it is worth noting it's for each trainer card you find there, so you're hitting it for items, supporters, and stadiums.
Exactly.
So not too bad. So we're just playing one of them, and then we have 2 of the Trevenant Break with Silent Fear, also adding 50 HP to the Psychic Trev and 40 to the Grass Trev. So is it mostly here for HP, or do you also like Silent Fear?
It's definitely an HP buff. If I can get off a Silent Fear, the game's probably going in my manner. Or again, if it's just one of those where I know I can afford a turn just to kind of set up a later game like one shot on something, I'll happily do it. But for the most part, it's there just for the 160 HP. And again, with Buzzwole being where it is with the resistance as well, it's like the perfect HP to have. Yeah,
160 HP with fighting resistance if you evolve this on top of the Trevenant. That sounds pretty good against Buzzwole. Definitely not bad at all. So next we have, I'm going to skip over to the Lele's real quick, and then we'll touch on the 3 tech attackers. So we're playing 3 Tapu Lele-GX for consistency, something we often see in Zoroark variants. Is 3 just enough? Do you ever want to go down to 2?
You could try to. To me, I always run 3 as like a player preference, just for comfort. Also, for how this deck's designed, it becomes, I won't say a primary attacker in your Zoroark matchups, but it does become a bit more of a bigger deal in those kind of matches.
Cool. Yeah, it's not bad against Zoroark because they're usually not one-shotting things, with Zoroark at least, so you can just get a quick 80 in there with Energy Drive. So on to our tech attackers, a card that we have not seen being played for quite a while here. Jolteon-EX, only 160 HP. Its Flash Ray for a Lightning and double Colorless does 70 damage, so pretty underwhelming. And during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. So back when Yveltal, Garb, and Volcanion ran rampant, we saw this played, and it was actually quite good. But then we had the Sun and Moon era come upon us with evolution cards that were much stronger, so Jolteon kind of lost its power. So tell me about what makes Jolteon worth playing in this deck and actually makes it quite good.
So I was sitting there putting my deck list in before the cup, and I was thinking, I know there's gonna be Malamar, I know there's gonna be Buzzwole. I always have the option that maybe I'm gonna slip up in one of those matches, and I'm gonna need a neutralizer. So right away I was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna give this guy a try. I've been wanting to use him for a bit ever since I saw the increase in Beast Ring and Buzzwole. Because the baby Buzzwole to be exact, just because again it's one of those guys that it can shield itself from both of those in that matchup. And so basically if you're faltering, as long as you get Jolteon out, you have a good start. Also in this match, if you can get an active out with a Float Stone. You can almost one thing I've did a couple of times is with the Jolteon is at sneak attack player, where I can put it down on my bench, put the energy, promote it, and then use the multi switch in my list to have it loaded out of nowhere. And that again, it throws a loop in all your opponents' kind of, their game plans and whatnot.
Cool. And so at first glance you might think it's not that great against Buzzrock because of the Lycanroc part of Buzzrock, but Igor Costa's first place Madison list was only playing 1-1 Lycanroc, and many others were similar in that, playing only 2-1. So they only have one evolution attacker, some of these lists, that can actually hit this Jolteon.
Yeah, that was you pretty much said it. That was another thought I had, where I knew we're coming right out of Madison. People are going to be eager to try these deck lists. They're going to tweak it to how they want, with the 2-1 maybe, or they're going to stay solely, with the 1-1 line. So another reason for the Jolteon was I wanted to expose that, and yeah, that's pretty much straightforward. Also, too, the big thing about Jolteon, look at that retreat cost.
Nothing. Yeah, it's 0. So it's pretty nice to start out with sometimes, or just to have on your bench to send up when you're not sure what to do next turn yet. Want to have your options ready. And then we have the one Mew-EX with the versatile ability that can use any attack in play as long as it has the necessary energy. So tell me why this is in here, Richard.
It's been a Zoroark staple. Zoroark staple in my Zoroark, my Zoropod lists all year. So honestly, it could be a card you cut because you do run the Jolteon, but at the same time too, you could honestly just load up the Mew and just copy the Jolteon. You kind of speed up the flash rate pace as well.
Definitely not a bad option. It sounds like, yeah, not too bad there. Excuse me. So I do see some Zoroark players up to go with 2 Mewtwo's from Evolution instead of the 1-1 split here. And also some people have liked Mew-EX a little less since Buzzwole got even stronger. Do you still like it for the risk-reward factor of having that really powerful attack but a low HP 2-prizer?
No, most definitely. Like, if you put it down on your bench, you got to get your attack off with it right away, or it's pretty much a goner.
Yeah.
In some of my matches with the Mew as well, if it's getting late game and I know like they're gonna start threatening me with a Lycanroc and they get it out, I would actually have I would have a Trevenant on the bench, I'd have the Jolteon active, but I also before I took my second or third prize before the end, I would put the Mew down as a kind of a checkmate piece.
Nice. Yeah, so Mew-EX doesn't usually stick around too long once it hits the board, but you wanna try to put it down when you know you're gonna use it. And then we have Mewtwo from Evolutions, actually 10 HP more than Mew-EX, but only a 1-prizer. So where do you see yourself using this the most?
I use it against Marshadows a lot, actually, in again the Malamar matchup. Also, too, like it's a 1-prizer, so I can just do some chip damage if I have a slow start. And it's also with Zoroark decks, it's just been a staple all year. So
yeah,
I just naturally put it in.
Yeah, it's become less of a tech and more of just a staple of the archetype. You'll see that a lot of the times towards the end of a format where we're getting closer to World, so there's not much new stuff coming out. We have a lot of stuff already, we know what decks we're expecting, and these techs kind of just become part of the deck at that point, because you really can't fight against Buzzwole without your Mewtwo's.
Exactly.
So that's it for the Pokemon. We have 22 in here. So let's go on to the trainers. We have one Enhanced Hammer. Some Zoroark lists have been cutting this, but this isn't your average Zoroark list. So what is Enhanced Hammer most used against? And talk about some of its utilities with this list.
The utilities is you can just draw it with Zoroark. You can Mallow for it if you need it in a certain setup piece. Primarily, the DC is in a Zoroark matchup. It's a great target on a Beast Energy. That 30 damage is very, very annoying. And again, strong energies as well.
Yeah, so I really like it too because you have your Nervous Seed with Trevenant, already making them need an extra energy. And then if you can just deny that one extra every now and again, seems really, really good. Then we have one Evosoda, just for consistency, I suppose. You could always go with the Timer Ball, but Evosoda's more consistent, right?
In this version of a Zoroark deck, it is, because I can Evosoda out of Zoroark, or if I have the Phantump turn 1 Ascension, I can just turn 2 the Soda, put the Breakout. I got an instant 160 on turn 2 with the Break Evolution. I can either start attacking right away with Energy Press, or turn 2 I can just Silent Fear.
Definitely sounds good. Then we have two Field Blower. What do you usually use these babies on?
Parallel, Float Stone.
Parallel City, yeah. I imagine this deck, how's it do against Garbodor variants, since we're on Float Stone? Since we're on Field Blower.
I think it's pretty favored, actually, because you have Zoroark, and Zoroark, it's always been a nightmare for the Psychic deck. It's also here, none of my Trevenants have Psychic weakness at all, so right away you're hitting for weakness on Garbodor. And also, this is a matchup where Break Evolving that Trevenant, the Grass Poltergeist one, is very, very good. Because you hit it, you get two items in your opponent's hand. That's 160 right away.
Yeah.
That's a knockout on that's a knockout on either Garbodor.
Nice, nice. And then we have one Multi Switch. You touched on it a bit earlier, but just go over it real quick for us.
This card was probably my low-key MVP of the day I used it, and I'm along with my friend who used it. I'm sure he had some instances where a lot with that card is I would use it as a setup play. I would go like turn 1, 2 DCs if I had to, and I would use it usually then is where I could try and sneak in my my Jolteon on maybe roughly turn 3, maybe turn 2 if I was lucky. But yeah, moving the energy to an active out of nowhere, you can do it with Jolteon, Mew, like any of the attackers in this deck. It's been mostly a staple in the Zoroark archetypes, but I found a home for it in this list just because all the attacks in this list cost the 1 in the DCE or the DC right away, so I wanted that flexibility moving pieces around.
Nice, yeah, definitely a very cool card. Then we have 4 puzzles, again kind of a staple in your Zoroark variants these days. Just nice to be able to trade into the second puzzle when you already have one in hand. You can always Mallow for 2. What are some of your big targets with Puzzle of Time?
Mallow energies. I only run 2 Guzma, so go find a Guzma again.
Yeah.
Go find the Enhanced Hammer again if I have to. Basically, it's basically having your own personal stash you can access at any time.
Yep, super nice to have. 4 Ultra Ball. Discard 2. Search your deck for a Pokemon. Did you think about adding Mysterious Treasure at any point?
After the tournament, I thought about it a little bit, just with how tight I am for space here. I want to access my Zoroarks at any moment, so that's what made it harder for me to try and fit a Mysterious Treasure into this list. It did cross my mind, though. Yes,
a lot of Psychic targets you could possibly hit with it, but we just have the vanilla 4 Ultra Ball. We have 1 Acerola, pretty good in this deck.
Absolutely. It's in the Buzz matches where they do get that Guzma off, I've got get your Zoroarks hit, right roughly there. If they were giving me this a Zoroark shot, right, I was like, they're attacked for the turn. It kind of tells me they're weak. I'll just Acerola up that Zoroark. Maybe I'd sit with just 1 on my bench, and I'd just be swinging with Jolteon and Trevenant the whole matchup.
Nice, nice. Then we have 3 Brigette for consistency. Search your deck for 1 basic EX or 3 basic Pokemon, so you can't grab Jolteon, unfortunately, along with 2 others. So I imagine usually you'll be getting 2 Zorua and a Phantump, or Zorua 2 Phantump, something like that, depending on your active. Next we have 2 Cynthia, so I'm just going to go over the draw supporters all at once here. We have 3 N, 2 Cynthia, 1 Sycamore. Pretty standard for a Zoroark variant. You don't need as many draw supporters as non-Zoroark decks do because you have the trades to get you more cards. 2 Guzma, which you touched on a bit, but is this too little, or do you get by because of the puzzles?
I think because of the puzzles you can get by. After playing this deck, I would have preferred maybe a 3rd Guzma. It was something I kind of look back on afterwards. There were a few times I'd be digging and digging and digging. Be missing the puzzles, be missing the Guzma, go through your deck for like the umpteenth time, and you're like, yep, it's prized. It wasn't an illusion in your mind, it's prized.
Yeah. And then we have the 1 Mallow as our last supporter here. Just pretty great in Zoroark decks because you can essentially get 2 cards and then discard a card for those 2 cards if you combo a trade.
Tord said it best. You can search your deck for 2 cards and then legally cheat by drawing them with Zoroark.
Yeah, Zoroark lets you legally cheat a lot. And then the last 2 cards for trainers are 2 Choice Band, 2 Float Stone. 2 Choice Band enough? Get you there? Okay. So that
I got the job done. I think I had Mallow in the deck, kind of helped out a lot.
Cool. Yeah. 2 Choice Band is usually enough for me in Zoroark decks, but I always want more, especially because I'm usually running Mewtwo EVO, and you need a Choice Band to one-shot a Buzzwole GX with Mewtwo. That's usually where it bothers me, but 2 should be fine. And then we have 8 energy, we have 4 DCE, 3 of the unit energy, metal, psychic, electric, or lightning, whichever you prefer to call it, and then 1 basic psychic energy. So tell me about this energy. Did the energy type come first, or did the Jolteon come first?
Jolteon, and then right away it's like, well, what's gonna work best? And I thought rainbows, but I don't want to put damage on my guys, so naturally, you know, you go for the unit energy, the psychic, and the lightning's freaking absolutely perfect together. And then the 1 psychic, my 2 trains of thought there was I couldn't find my 4th unit, and at the same time I figured maybe 1 basic just in case there's someone out there does catch me off guard with an E-hammer.
Right. Okay. So that steel is going unused, that we've seen Kartana in some Zoroark decks with unit energy. Did you consider that?
At the moment, I was rushing ahead in my deck list, so no.
Okay.
But a little later into it, I thought about it. I was like, you know, maybe that GX attack would have been absolutely ideal, and it'd be a second from our V-hammer, which would have been great. But I was already running 22 Pokemon, so I was kind of worried about getting a little flooded there. Like I could have cut a break, but I found when I thought about it after, to me the breaks are still too viable in this list to cut. So it's kind of where maybe the Mew discussion where I brought up earlier might be an option there, or just, you know, kind of maybe experiment with 7 energies. I wouldn't want to risk it, but you know, those are all things that cross my mind.
Cool. And for you guys, I will, since PTCGO updated and there's more space between the Pokemon on here now, I will put the list so you can import it into your PTCGO in the description, and so you can look at the whole list at one time. So we're going to talk about your testing with this deck and your tournament experience. So I know that you've been talking about a cup that you brought it to. What was your record at the end of that?
Yeah, so the idea behind this deck actually started when I read an article on someone's PC from Drew Bennett Kennett. He had actually written one about Zoro trees, but it was just with the Phantump, and I think it was 2 of the Poltergeist. It was a deck that was more focused on being a Zoroark deck with the breaks and the stand-in, and then having Trevenant as like a grass counter to Lycanroc. So, you know, I was intrigued by the idea, so I took the list off someone's PC site, tried it out. I immediately added Trevenant Break. I was like, you know what, Psychic could kind of do some things against Buzzwole as well. So I trusted it a little bit. I saw the potential, but it just, at the point in time, it didn't seem like it would line up really well with the meta. So I kind of you know, put on the back burner. Kind of told myself though, like, once you get your invite, maybe this is a deck you can kind of, you know, dive back into and try out. So once Beast Ring came out and Baby Buzz, came out, right away this deck was in my head. I was like, I got to try this deck again, because this is when I figured out Worry Seed and the breaks, and how I'd seen how how there's now a Zoroark, so it did show that Zoroark can work with psychic partners. So that was another ideal. So once I got my invite in Madison, I threw this deck back together, started testing it on PTCGO. I was having some good success with it. I beat Buzzwole consistently with it. I'll never say it's a 100-0 matchup, but it's, as long as you set up, it's a very, very favored match in my personal opinion. And it had a pretty good Malamar match from what I tried. So I kind of just went forward with it, built it. Knew my meta right away would be scared to use Zoroark, which to me, it's going to always be a bad matchup for any version of Zoroark that has a psychic partner. Like, I think Garb's probably the most weakest one out of the three right now as well. So that was the ideal behind it. And then, yeah, this is what I decided to take to the Cup. Got to the League Cup, was put my deck list together, and I was thinking, you know, I need that extra guy just in case I do have that slip up where I can't get a Trevenant set up. That's where Jolteon came to mind right away. Because right in a way, Buzzwole, you know, dominated Madison. Everyone's going to copy Buzzwole or counter it with Malamar right away. So I, you know, counter the counter, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you went 4-1-1 at the League Cup, correct?
I did. I went 3-0 against all the Buzzwole matchups. I beat a Zoroark Lucario. Those are my 4 wins. My tie and my loss. My tie was to an Ultra Necrozma. And then my loss was to a Psychic Necrozma. Just my opponent had a good start. Turn 1 Brigette, turn 1 Parallel, and just, you know, sometimes your opponent draws the juice and there's nothing you can do about it. So that was my loss for the day.
Amen to that. And unfortunately, with a great record of 4-1-1, you did bubble at 9th, correct?
I was the bubble boy.
Yeah, that always hurts. But 4-1-1, a great record, and you've been playing this deck outside of the tournament as well?
I've been playing with it on PTCGO still, yeah.
Cool.
And then next day in Ottawa, a friend and teammate of mine, Jeff Deca, he took it to a League Cup out in the Ottawa area. He went 3-1-1, made top 8. Actually won his top 8 match against Buzzguy. A very favorable match for this deck. We don't really care about Garbatoxin once we get a Jolteon or one of the Trevenants there. We really don't. So he took that match 2-0, but it was to a person we know is in the top 16 chase. So, you know, you can see they gave that guy the win. So it was the by default top 4 version of the deck for the weekend.
And do you know what he beat in Swiss at all? Any of the decks?
Yes. He beat a Greninja GX with Poltergeist. I can tell you the exact attack he won with. He messaged me right after. Round 1, beat a Ultra Malamar. He lost to a Buzzrock, but I believe it was a scoop against a friend that's trying to get him the points. And then I forget the other one he beat, and then he just tied in top 8, and then he took out Buzzgarb in the top 8. So
cool. So the Fighting Fury belts and Buzzgarb don't hinder you too much, I assume.
Not really. That you can energy press and knock him out in one shot, or you can just sit there and flash rate till, you know, friggin' all day
and hit
Can't
a Field Blower
right?
eventually.
So, Field Blower it. You can set up some nice knockouts with the Field Blowers and like 2-3 flash rays. You know.
Nice. Let me see. Okay, so what do you think your matchup spread is like? Maybe against 5 of the top decks, do you think?
I think this deck's got a very favorable matchup with the Buzzwoles. It's sure like Lycanrock's the threat all the time, but that's why we have the one Trevenant. Or if you go first, just put a giant target out on the Rock Rust, and you're usually okay. Again, in the Ultra Malamar match, you got Zoroark to deal with Dawn Wings. You got Trevenant for early game for pressure, and then if you're falling behind a little bit, you can fall back on Jolteon. This is kind of where as well I like Flash Ring if I have to. Then I can Acerola, bring up the Mewtwo if they go into like the aggro Malamar route, trying to take them out with evolutions instead. That's where you start trading off your one prizers. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Your Zoroark matchups are rough. You can win the Zoroark matchups, but it takes a lot more very difficult piloting. To me, in this matchup, the only Trevenant you should be playing, unless you're just doing a trade-off, is the Poltergeist one. If it's for Lycanrock, you keep it as a grass. If you're against like Pod, maybe Lucario as well, and in the Garbodor matchups, you want to get some Silent Fears off. What I've tried to do is get 2 Silent Fears off, and then just get a ban on a Zoroark and start spreading the 150 all around, hit that magical 210 number.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely a good plan. And you could do that go break over the grass Trev, and then you don't have the
Exactly.
dark weakness as you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Anything else you've played against? Maybe Lapras, Gardevoir, any of the tier 2, 3-ish decks?
I actually played against a Guardy last night with this deck, and I just sat there and silent feared again and again and again, just to get, if they didn't set up, a Gardevoir or a Gallade or their auxiliaries, I would just spread and knock them out. I took 3 prizes in a one shot.
Nice.
And then with the damage set up, I can go right in with a Mew as a trade-off. I have Mewtwo to hit a big version of Guardian. I have Zoroark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Gardevoir is still a favorable matchup. The deck's not as strong as it was, not big of a threat as it was. Lapras, I have not actually faced. I have faced it with this deck. Basically, if they get Volcanion out, the match is very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it should be winnable because if they're gonna overpay on a Lapras to attack you, you can basically just counter with Zoroark, use Acerola. They're gonna try and slow you down by ice beaming your Jolteon, and that's when you Acerola it, or you just use Mewtwo.
Cool. I also imagine that Poltergeist could come into play there. They're weak to grass, and they have a lot of items in that deck. Some things like Energy Switch and Aqua Patch, where they can't always just play them to get them out of their hand. And
you catch them reaching a little bit too while you go. Yeah, absolutely. If I can, I try to get one of both Trevenants out in that match. And yeah, I kind of try to hold the grass Trev back till I attack with it that turn. I don't want to make it obvious that I have it.
Right. So. That definitely makes sense. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on the channel and talking about this really cool deck. Hopefully someone out there is inspired to try Zoro Trev out and maybe have some success with it.
I always appreciate it.
What was it?
I said always a pleasure to be here. I kind of just lagged out a little bit, sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. Do you have any shout-outs you would like to make before we end the video?
Sure. Shout out to my buddies and teammates on Team Drampafree. You guys can follow me on Twitter if you want. It's RichHulsell24. I don't post a lot on there. I do here and there. I share stuff. You guys can follow me, ask me questions. I'm always available to talk. Just approach me anytime. And yeah, looking forward to Internet's coming up.
Cool. Yeah, same. Internet should be a blast. Hopefully I'll get my points there to get to Worlds. And Richard is sitting at 406, so he will be competing in Worlds regardless of how Internets goes for him. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this little deck analysis on Zoro Trev. Don't forget to check out flipsidegaming.com and use my code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your order. And I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.